Paul.
All right, so what to do when you're in a slump and you have like this mental fog of what to do next. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into a couple different things, topics, and strategies to kind of figure out what your next steps are, how to go about that, and move forward. Damiel, another episode.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Millennial Mogul Mindset Podcast. And yes, we're just gonna have an episode of us just talking about just how do we get out of a mental funk that we know each and every one of us have go through every now and again.
Yeah, so let's first go into like how we came across this subject.
Okay. Well, honestly, we came across this subject just being in a moment of transparency. I just hit you up and saying, "Hey, bro, I don't have nothing for today. You know, I have nothing I want to talk about. Like, I don't have anything creative coming to me towards me in my mind right now." And so it was just like, hey, let's just go over that. Let's just have a conversation about being an entrepreneur and going through these ruts and, you know, these times where we're just not as focused, or not as focused, I want to say, but just not as inspired as we are at other times.
Yeah, and I just wanted to have that kind of conversation because, again, it's very important because a lot of times, like you were talking about, like, yo, I feel like I didn't get anything done.
Right.
But then when you looked at the stuff that you were actually tracking and you realize, like, oh, damn, I got a lot done, it just doesn't feel that way. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through that same thing where they're just like, look, I feel as though I'm not getting anything done or I'm not getting the steps in place and the reps in place that I want to get done. What do I do next?
Right. So just as a open up, like we're just talking about, I went through my intentional journal, something that we talked about before, because I felt like, yo, I'm just sitting around today. I don't have nothing. Like it got so bad during the middle of the day, I just turned on the PlayStation, played Madden for an hour, right? And to get out of that, I just opened up my intentional journal, and my 90-day goals were to be consistent and disciplined, meaning getting back to the gym, taking care of my mind, body, and soul. So, like, I'm back into the gym. My second 90-day goal was to grow my company, my photography business into profitability. I have made profit from that. I've did the steps that I was trying to do to get to profitability, and you know, it's not where I want to be, but we've made profit so far. And so, like 60% of my 90-day goals were accomplished.
Right.
You know, so that's just something just to touch on what we were just discussing.
Yeah, and I think that's, like I said, it's a really important part in discussions because, again, when you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you're always running at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Right.
And then when you don't have that flow to stay at 1,000,000 miles an hour, like I had a friend, he was like, Alex, you're so used to running at 200 miles an hour that when you let your foot off the gas, you're still going 160 miles an hour. You feel as though that you're slowed down so much, like dramatically, but to everybody else, you're just moving, you're cranking so fast.
Exactly. You know what? Someone made an analogy of that before. Like, I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but you're driving on a highway and you're driving 100 miles per hour.
Right.
But when you slow down to 70 miles per hour, you feel like you're going so slow, right?
But you're still going above the speed limit.
Exactly. But you just got used to your momentum going 100 miles per hour. So now 70 miles per hour seems maybe like 30.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of like where we at right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people experience that when they're just either getting their foot off the ground or, you know, they're getting some kind of traction and they're just like, what's next?
Right.
So let's talk about that. What is next? So in my opinion, you can give your opinion as well. My opinion, I think what's next should be, one, tracking something, finding a system to create to track that stuff. Like you're talking about the intention journal or the finances journal or a daily planner, right? Or a vision board. Right, something that all that stuff is going to be able to be physically there that for you to see, touch, write on, draw on, whatever. But to be able to go ahead and say, look, I have something that's tangible. I can track my metrics and then go ahead and start making progress. When you take that action of creating a daily planner, and then going ahead and creating action steps to get you to that next level. Again, we talked about it last time or second last time. Excuse me. Of what is success to you in like 10 years? Then break that down to a 5 year, 2 year, 1 year, 6 months, so on and so forth, all the way down to what do you need to do today? When you put those steps into an action planner, now you have the roadmap for where you need to go. And now you can say, okay, all right, these are the things I need to go do. Once you have those in place, what I also did was say, once I have a daily planner, once I have my goals identified, I then go write down all my biggest headaches, what they are, and then I systematize it and say, okay, in order to solve this headache, I'm going to do this thing, and that's going to completely solve it, or make sure that if it happens again, I don't have to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours or 2, 3, 4 days trying to figure out the solution to that issue.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, if this happens, I would do this, this, and this. Go do it. Right?
Right.
Go do that thing that you say is a solution to your headache that's going to put you on the path to get to your goal for your 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 month or 10-year goal, right?
Right. I think for me, when you say what's next is, like you said, systematize everything. And sticking to that system. Like, don't just write it down. Like, stick to it. And this is one of the things that I'm still growing into, because I can write something down, but it's sticking to that. Like, for example, if I say I'm going to wake up at 4:45 a.m. Every morning, can't hit that snooze button.
That's the tough part.
You know, right? And it is the tough part, because when you wake up at 4:45, especially on days like when you're like,
it's dark.
Yeah, it's
cold.
Dark. And like for me, for example, like I have a job where I don't work every day. So on those days where I'm not have to be at my job, it's like
I'm waking up.
Like, why am I waking up at 4:45? But it's the discipline to say, hey, this is a goal or routine that you stated that you wanted, right? And so the job is to be consistent. If you're gonna do it, be consistent. Be disciplined with it. And so, yeah, like I said, if you're gonna write it down, do it, right? And don't just write it down, because everyone writes down stuff. But like we said, like not many people have the fortitude to stick with it.
Yeah, I'm actually experiencing that right now with like the whole social media stuff.
Right.
Because last time I tried it, I was in Puerto Rico for a month. I was like, all right, every day for 30 days, I'm gonna get content. Right. 2-3 times a day. I'm gonna blow up my Instagram and really take off. Right. Day 14, I was like, bro, I can't. Like, I had the ideas because it was ChatGPT, but then life took over. Right. Right. And now I'm like, all right, cool. I have X, Y, Z to do in life. ChatGPT is like simplifying my life. I just got to do the work. Right. That's the tough part, is doing the work consistently. Anybody can start. That's why Planet Fitness and all the gyms say, join today, January 1st, for $1. Because they're betting on you to not be there on February 1st. And they're like, all right, bet we got our money.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing for March. Same thing for and then they make it impossible for you to quit.
You're locked into the contract.
You're locked into the contract. And that's what happens in life. It's like, all right, cool. The things that you would need for social media, you're going to need a Dropbox for all your files. You're going to need, this subscription for your captions and your editing. You need this subscription, that subscription. And you get all these subscriptions, right? And I'm only saying this from experience, because this past couple months since I came back from Puerto Rico, it has been me cutting the fat on a lot of stuff, because I started so much, and I'm like, yo, I got all these subscriptions. All right. And you're committed to it, and then you're just like, I don't want this no more.
Exactly. That's something that would creep up on you, like all the subscriptions that we use, that we don't use, that we lock ourselves into. Have you tried like a content calendar?
Yes.
Okay. How's that going? How did that go?
So actually, just I'm going back and forth on which one I want to use, because right now I've been using ChatGPT to like create one each and every day, and I just like upload my stats. Like, all right, I have this many engaged followers and audience and yada yada. And then I seen one. I actually meant to tell you about this. It was basically you go on Quora.com, which is Quora,
Okay.
right? It's kind of like an ask.com kind of thing.
Okay.
But you go on Quora and you type in a subject, right? Once you type in that subject, let's say cybersecurity, podcasting, whatever, on the left-hand side, there's a certain categories. One of those categories says questions, and then that'll show you the top questions related to that thing.
Okay.
So now, all right, cool, boom. You go into there, you see all the top questions, you create a spreadsheet, and you say, all right, here's my subcategory, right, which is podcasting or whatever.
Right.
Excuse me. So podcasting is my subcategory. Here's all the questions that I have. Here's the days that I posted them on, right, in another column. And then the fourth column is basically saying, what's my viewership count?
Right.
So once you go in there and you do the content for 30 days, because there's 30 questions, and you just address each one every day, right? Now you go in there and say, okay, out of the 30 days, these are my top ones.
Right.
That had the highest view count. Once you go in there and select the ones that have the highest view count, now you can go in and start expanding on each of those topics and stuff.
Okay.
So that's just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, what's next kind of thing?
Right.
If you're into content, doing something like that. But who knows, if you're into different ideas, like let's say photography or real estate, you could still do that same thing and kind of see what other people are asking. And now you can basically become an expert in that field by understanding what are the top questions, and you can address them. So if you're a real estate agent, this is going to be gold. If you're a real estate agent and you go to Quora and then see the top responses, the top questions people are asking, now you can start practicing those rebuttals. Like, oh, well, I don't know about this because the wall's this color or something like that. Oh, no problem. We could do X, Y, Z, da, da, da.
Right.
And then you start tracking that stuff. Again, going back to the whole tracking thing. What I forget what the saying is. It's something about if you can track it and measure it, or if you can measure it, you can track it or whatever.
Right.
But you have to get to a point where you track and measure your goals and your outputs. That way you know what to start attacking. That's, again, going back to the question of like, what's next? That's how you start figuring out what's next. What are you lacking in?
Okay. All right. So now that we got what's next, let's tackle on like how do we find inspiration when we do like get into these
That's a good one.
these mental ruts and funks? Like, for example, it's a Monday and in the middle of the year, like there's you just don't know where to go to find inspiration and to find your next move. Like,
oh yeah.
Well, what is something you use for inspiration?
So it depends on what type of learner you are.
Okay.
Are you kinesthetic? What's that? Visual, auditory, right?
Right.
So now, depending on which one you are, will help you understand where you need to go. If you're kinesthetic, look up on meetup.com, Eventbrite, Facebook, look up local meetups and go to the event. Right? Because now you're going to be interacting with other people who's going to give you insight on different things and saying, hey, and you can hold on. And you can go in there and basically like, hey, I'm having this issue, I'm having this thought, I'm having this experience. What would you do? Now, if you're more auditory, listen to a podcast. Because podcasts, there's never been one podcast I've listened to where I haven't pulled something away and be like, oh, man, I could do that. Or I should do that. Or I need to do that. If you're more visual, okay, cool, go to YouTube. Do the same thing. Run the same play. And you're doing it on top. You're not just doing it blindly like, oh, I'm just listening to any podcast or any YouTube. You're going on to something where once you've tracked and identified your weakest link, go find a video or go to a meetup or find a podcast on that thing that you're lacking in.
Find authority basically in that which you're looking for.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. I definitely agree.
Oh, I'm sorry. The last one. One of my favorites. If you like reading, go read a book.
Read a book.
Because a book's going to give you the ultimate clarity because it's going to put you in that mindset. You can even do Audible, right? Ebooks. It's going to give you that ultimate clarity on exactly that topic because that book is specifically on that topic the mindset, and they're set up in certain flows and certain ways that get you and they hook you.
Right.
In the beginning, it's about building the rapport with that person. Hey, this is my story. This is what I went through. These are the things that I accomplished. You know, this is what I thought was going to happen. Here's the actual outcome, and here's what I learned from it. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna teach you the steps of what I learned and how you can do it yourself.
Gotcha.
And once you get to that point, now that's your next steps.
Right.
That's your inspiration, because it's like, yes, finally something. This is the answer that I've been looking for that I didn't even know I was asking.
Okay, so what would you say to people though that say you don't need inspiration? Like if you're an entrepreneur, like your goal should be inspiration enough, you know, to stay disciplined or to stay, you know, just
Motivated.
Yeah, motivated.
I say that's BS, because it's like, yes, you can have a goal, but if your goal is money, you're not going to stay motivated for very long, because if you don't get it, then you're not going to stay motivated.
Right.
You have to have a higher purpose, but you have to have that understand your why. And then from time to time,
that's what I was looking for. You understand your why.
Yeah, because at time to time, there's going to be times where you lose focus of your why, and you have to have that inspiration to go back to it. Because no one's perfect. We're not computers. We can't just keep at one task nonstop all the time for, you know, eternity.
Right.
We have to have that moment where it's just like we're just real with ourselves. Like, yo, I'm in a place where I don't know what's next. I don't know how to proceed. And I just need some ideas and motivation about, like, how do I go about this thing that I'm struggling in?
Right.
Because in every other topic, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Every other thing we get help on, right? Professional help. You have a body ache, you go to either a sports professional or a doctor, right? You have a headache, a doctor again. If you have money problems, you go see a CPA, accountant, or hopefully.
Hopefully,
Hopefully
you have your money allows you to go see a CPA. If you have money problems, you can't even afford a CPA.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But having that additional help is basically what I'm getting at. It's like you have to have some outside source of help. The answer is always in you. You just have to realize where to look within yourself to get to that answer.
Okay. I think for me, you know, something I need to learn how to to track myself is, like you said, is finding your why. Like my why is my motivation.
Right.
You know, my why is I don't want to get too vulnerable in this podcast, but you know, I got people depending on me, you know, so I gotta figure this thing out, right?
For sure.
You know, so you know, if I don't figure this thing out, you know, not only am I, you know, at stake, like my life and my freedom at stake, but you know, these people that's depending on me are at stake, you know, so. That's just how, you know, that's how it is, man. And so those days when you just don't feel like doing nothing, you just gotta keep moving forward, because your why, it should keep you, you know, keep you, you know, going.
It's bigger than you.
Yeah, exactly. What do you say to that?
I think people with kids have that big why, because they're just like, they realize like it's physically there. Like,
oh yeah, you there's no escaping it.
Right. So that's why I'm at that point where I can just give it back.
Yeah. Luckily.
So if you don't have kids, I guess it's more just like understanding why you, like you said, why you want to be able to, because some people want to give back.
Honestly, I would push back on that one if you don't, because you plan on having kids, right? So,
but not everybody plans on having kids.
That's true. But everyone has a why. Like, even if you don't have kids, I'm sure you have nieces and nephews. Yeah. You know, that you love. Like for me, for example, like I'm in the same boat as you. I don't have kids as of yet. You know, I don't have a girlfriend as of yet, right? But my why includes my wife and my children.
Right.
Like, even though they're not here as of yet, I'm still planning. That still motivates me to grind, because you know, like I want to give, you know, my wife the best life that she can have. in turn, so she can, help me raise children, with the best possible life that, that we can raise together, So,
Of course.
I don't even know if I met them yet, but I'm still grinding for them, and maybe one day, they'll play this episode back and see, hey, hey, Dad, did what he had to do because he looked out for us. He loved us.
And I think that's another thing that a lot of people who are on this journey are like slowly realizing is like, I have to sacrifice a lot up front so that on the back end, the dividends are a lot higher.
Right.
And that's a very big sacrifice that most people don't realize that they're doing is, not going out, not going and having fun and not enjoying this thing and putting this delayed gratification before, anything happens to really get to that point.
Right.
And again, it's like as you start tracking things, we were talking about motivation. As you start tracking things, you can look back and, be like, yo, I was really here like X years ago. Because I see on Snapchat all the time. Or I used to. I deleted it. I was tired of it.
Snapchat, I heard that one in a minute.
Right. But the one thing I did like about it is that it would always give notification like, yo, do you remember where you were at 2 years ago, 5 years ago? I'm like, what was I doing 5 years ago? And I go look, and I was, BSing, doing some stuff, car clubs, and just messing around and stuff. But to have that, to look back on those moments, again, it's like, that can also be motivation because who knows, if you don't have kids, you might want to mentor one day. You might want to coach. You might want to give back to the community. You might want to give back in some sense. Because I think that, I could be wrong, but as the older you get, the more you just want to give back.
Exactly.
Because you just value things differently. When we're younger, we value, excitement and joy.
We're more selfish.
And pleasure.
Yeah.
Right? More than anything else. As we start getting older, we enjoy seeing other family members, may not be everybody, but other family members or people that were loved ones receiving satisfaction and joy from your hard work and benefits. Because it's like, okay. It's bigger than me. Like they're reaping the benefits of the things that I did, the same way that I was enjoying benefits from what my parents did.
Right.
So that could just be your motivation. Is just giving back to whoever, loved ones, smaller kids, older kids. You never know.
That's true. Okay. All right. Cool. So let's move on from motivation.
Because we were talking about the mental slump and
yeah. So let's move into pause right quick.
We can just go into like the fact that how do you identify the goals that you want to hit?
Okay. I'm glad you came. Okay.
So how do you identify those goals that you want to set? Once you get out of that inspiration period, what's your next steps to like?
Well, like once you're inspired and you know what you want to do, like you said earlier, it's just like what are your goals, and just backtracking from there, and so like you said, like for me, like I said earlier, my 90-day goals were for my photography business to make it profitable, right? And so I can break it down.
I was going to say, now that we're coming up on the season, everybody says, not everybody, but a good amount of people said New Year's resolutions. And probably like 5% of that actually stick to those New Year's resolutions. Why do we still set New Year's resolutions if we know that they're not more than likely not going to work?
The promise of and the hope that you'll be disciplined, I think. That's what it is. I don't need New Year's resolutions has gotten so bad with me, for example. Like I stopped setting them, right? And so honestly, so what happened to me was I set a yearly goal at my birthday. Birthday was August, and honestly, bro, I just said, no, this year I'm going to change my life. Like I'm going to be consistent with the content. I'm going to get back into the gym, and I said every month I was going to record something. I forgot about that. So I did not But we have been consistently putting out content though,
Right.
like every week. Like I've uploaded 2 podcasts on Sunday, on Saturday, I should say. And so like we've been consistently putting out the content, but yeah, man, I don't know New Year's resolutions, man. It's just everyone feeds off the hope of something of a brand new year because it's so fresh, and so but like we said, like if you're gonna do it, write it down and then be disciplined. Because if you don't write it down, you're not gonna stick to it.
Yeah.
One, because you're not even gonna remember all your resolutions. For one.
Well, most people, I think they just start with one, which is just I want to lose weight.
Exactly. Or I want to build a better body.
I do want to go into that where it's like people set goals, but they're not smart goals.
That's true.
And when you're setting a goal and that's not a smart goal, for those of you who don't know, a smart goal is something that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. That's smart, right? So if I'm setting a goal,
right?
Here's 2 examples, and tell me which one's stronger. I want to lose weight this year, versus I want to lose 15 pounds in 3 months by cutting back on my sugar intake and increasing the amount of time that I'm in the gym by 1 hour.
Right. Second goal, easily.
Right. And why is that?
One, you're giving yourself actionable steps to take, and you're specific, right? So the second goal, for sure, you gave you're specific on exactly how many pounds you want to lose. You set an actionable, by cutting off my sugar, I should say, and increasing my gym time by hour. But you didn't say what is it, daily or how many times?
3 months.
3 months. So yeah, you gave yourself a time expiration. So yeah, the second goal easily.
Because I think that I forget where I heard this from, but when we give ourselves a year to accomplish a goal, it's going to take you a year. But if you give yourself 6 months, well, it's going to take 6 months. But if you give yourself a month and it's like, all right, I need to get this down.
Can't procrastinate,
right? You ever seen a bride trying to fit into her wedding dress and she knows she's on a time clock?
I have not seen it besides in the movies, but I have heard it. Yeah.
Right. They get it done though.
Right. I mean, of course.
Right. And that's the thing is like that level of discipline is what we can put. Imagine if you put that level of discipline 3 to 4 times a year. Right. It ain't got to be every day cranking out, like I'm like always trying to do something. Right. But imagine you did that 3 to 4 times a year.
Right.
How much would you get accomplished is the question.
I can give you another example. Go to that trip, that to the Caribbean place, you want to have the best body you have. Go 3 to 4 times a year.
I was telling my best friend, I was like, yo, look, your body was the best when you were getting ready for that trip. Right. And I noticed this with a lot of people, guys and girls, is that you either let yourself go, you lack discipline because there's no timeline. When we're in school, the timeline is, all right, you better study for this test, you better study for this quiz, you better study for whatever because you have X amount of time to get it done. And like, what do? You start crunching, right?
And you condition your body and mind to get it done on a timely manner.
Now, of course, people do procrastinate. I was one of those people. Professional procrastinator. This is what college is.
Still recovering.
But you're still that timeline is that hard deadline where it's like, nah, I need to get results need to happen. Whether I get a C or a B or an A, irrelevant. As long as I get some progress towards that goal that I'm setting, that's straight.
So you're basically saying it's the process is what counts, not the result.
I think the action within the process leads to the result.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, hold on.
You said it better than I could.
The action within the process over a given consistent time leads to the result.
Gotcha.
That was a bar.
That was a bar. You gonna clip that up?
Clip that up.
That's for TikTok right there.
Well, 30 minutes. So when you are consistent with your actions to lead to the result, it's because you're consistently chipping away at the stepping stones or the action steps that need to happen, right? Because your goal is timely, it's measurable. You're measuring the thing and saying, all right, well, if I need to lose 15 pounds in 3 months, I need to lose, a half pound or whatever the conversion rate is. 15 pounds, 5 pounds in a month.
All right.
So I need to be counting my calories.
It's about It's about a little bit over a pound a week. You need to be losing.
Right. 1 point. I don't know what that math
1.3, 1.25.
Who's counting?
Yeah.
Right. School.
Exactly. We're not there anymore.
Yeah. So, I'm in school of life.
Okay.
Like I'm always studying. Because I even had that feeling this morning. I'm just like, what's next? I also say this. I think that you should give yourself that time to just sit in silence and think. Because there's always just so much noise around you that in distractions. Like, prime example, the reason we're here in this recording scenario that we're in now in a different background is because the background that we had was noisy.
Right.
And we had to physically remove ourselves to focus and lock in. Could we have done it with the background noise? Yeah, of course. You got Adobe Podcast. I would have edited that out easily. Right? No question. But it's like, no, you have to remove yourself from those noisy situations. Emails, phone calls, text messages, social media, posts, friends calling you, let's go out to do that, right?
Right.
You got all these distractions happening and you're not focused on your goal and you're trying to focus on your goal, but you can't because there's just so much in the background.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. I mean, I can even add on to that, right? So earlier in today, like, I just had to cut everything off and just meditate.
Yeah.
For 5 to 10 minutes.
It don't take long.
Yeah.
It don't take long.
It doesn't take long, and just ask God, ask whatever you believe in, to me, God. But we're not religious in this podcast. But
Buddha. So no, I'm joking.
But just ask the higher power to guide my steps. Like, I'm not too sure where I need to be going right now, but I just ask the higher power, hey, guide my steps, and I feel as though that worked, and where that led me to, creating content to get my thoughts out into the world, and put put words to describe how I was feeling. Yeah. And so meditation, man, it works. It works.
Not to go like too metaphysical, but when you do that, you're basically pulling energy from the ether down to you, causing a thought. And when a thought happens, chemistry happens because now the brain starts releasing certain chemicals in the brain to start doing certain things,
right?
Which becomes now manifestations. Now you're manifesting by doing the action. And that's how you turn thought into action, because you're basically thinking, what should be done, right? How do I go about this thing? How can I see this from a different perspective? What should I be looking for, right? And you're elevating yourself to a higher frequency because you're like, at this low frequency that I'm at, this low vibration that I'm at, I don't see enough down here. I need to remove that fog and get to a higher level, a higher mental clarity, a higher mental vibration, right?
Right.
To now start thinking at a higher level. And now I can start bringing that energy down, like, okay, all right. Move out the way, distractions. Move out the way. Right. I can see where I need to go. And now you start pulling that information in. It's like, okay, now you start bringing your RAS back into place, the reticular activating system. And for those of you who don't know, reticular activating system is kind of like if you ever bought a car or if you ever just started thinking about something, now all of a sudden you start seeing it all the different places. It was always there. It was always in front of you. But now you're removing the noise around that thing, and you can see it.
Right. Makes sense.
So, yeah, just like again, start having that clarity, that time to just focus, remove the distractions, sit, read, listen to podcasts, meditate, do what you got to do. But I like doing it in the morning. I haven't done it in like past week and a half, 2 weeks, or a couple weeks, because I've been on audiobooks. And I noticed that when audiobooks, I'm like, I'm not about to get up early to do this. But it also happens every year. Like wintertime, when it's dark out, when it's cold out, you don't feel like getting up early because there's no sunlight.
Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you one thing I'm actually about to do is there's a sunset lamp. Right.
Right.
And it basically mimics the colors of a sunset. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a timer, plug that into the timer, plug it into the wall. There might be a better way of doing this, but at certain times, let's say 5 in the morning, if that's when I want to get up, all right, cool. That's what I'm going to set the timer to. So now when 5 o'clock hits, the room is lit up and it looks like the sun's rising in the room. So I'm creating artificial light within my room to trick my mind to be like, all right, it's time to go. Like this is already 10 o'clock.
Right.
So that by the time I knock out my day, I go to the gym, I read my book, I do this, do that. You know, I've gotten, I could do an hour of studying, I could do an hour of working out, right? And it's only 7 o'clock. I'm the type of person that can take a nap, 45 minutes, I'm good, right? Not normal, but.
Well, that's not normal.
Not normal. But if you get up at 4, right? And you need a 2-hour nap, all right, cool. Think about it this way. I'm only speaking for myself. Put yourself in my shoes. I get more sleep than the average person, right?
Right.
I also have more results than the average person.
Bar.
Because I take more risk than the average person. But taking more risk does not mean you'll automatically get more results. It's just I do it in a structured way to lead to those results. And it's like, well, how do you do that? Because if I wake up at 5, I work out at from 5 to like 6, right? I got a gym in my apartment, so it's a little bit easier, a lot easier, right? So I work out 5:15 to 6, boom, shower, whatever. I can read and then take a nap for an hour, right? So now I already got like my 6 hours of sleep plus another hour of sleep. So now I'm at 7 hours of sleep, right? Now, midday, 2 o'clock happens. I can, my lunch break, I just go take another nap. Just reset real quick, because most times you're going to eat throughout your day anyway. You're going to eat a little snack throughout your day anyway, on the job.
Right.
So it's like instead of eating one big lunch and then getting tired, I just like kind of like eat off my lunch throughout, you know, that 12 to 2 period. So by the time I go for my lunch break, I can just go take a quick nap, and now I got 8 hours of sleep.
That's a real tricky way to get your 8 hours of sleep.
It is, but I'm breaking up my day into multiple sections. And so with that, now it's like I don't feel groggy throughout the day. Granted, I still don't even get that full 8 hours because I don't know what happens. At 2 o'clock, that's when everybody decides, you know what? Let's call Alex.
Exactly.
And I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. My man's like, why don't you just put your phone on sleep? I'm like, it is. People just double call and go through. So off that tangent, the reason I'm saying this is because, oh, you're fine.
Okay. Okay.
You're fine.
Okay.
Oh, you're fine. The reason I say that is because is that when you break up your day and you start getting that sleep throughout the day and napping throughout the day, you can start segmenting your day and say, all right, this is when I'm most productive. This is when I'm least productive.
Right.
And when you understand your day cycles about which days are more productive versus least productive, all right, cool. I know that I'm going to start going ahead and locking in during these times versus those times.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Alex, this was a great episode, man.
That was a good timing, though.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. So, you have any closing thoughts on and just wrapping it up?
Yeah. In my personal opinion, having smart goals that you can track, put into a daily planner that you can measure, following up with accountability partners, and really setting big overarching goals that scare you is what's going to lead to your success. If your goal doesn't scare you, it's not big enough.
Yes, exactly. I concur. And man, I have nothing else to add on that. That was pretty much perfect.
Clip that up.
Thank you for checking out another episode. Be on the lookout for the next one. Peace.
All right.